Hello, everyone, and I would like to welcome you to a special Wednesday, Christmas Eve edition of the Pensacola Perspective. Happy holidays to everyone out there enjoying their time with their family and so forth. Today, the whole point of this discussion today, and this is what we're doing right now, is setting up a regularly scheduled Wednesday, hopefully regularly scheduled Wednesday time slot that allows a group of individuals to get together to discuss some of the issues that are going on here in Pensacola, but maybe summarize and recap some of the things that have happened over the past week nationally and how they would affect Pensacola on a local level. So today we are fortunate to have myself plus three other guests in the hangout session today. And of course, we can fit up to 10 people in the hangout session. So the next Wednesday, when we get ready to talk about a new discussion point or revisit the same discussion point we talked about today, definitely join. Or if you don't want to join, definitely watch the YouTube link. So first, we have Chris Hendricks. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, what's going on?
Okay, great, great. And next we have Haley. How you doing, Haley?
Hey,
And we have Miss Trina Ramos as well. How you doing today, Trina?
I'm pretty good. How you doing tonight?
Great, 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 great. All right. Well, we all know when we all participated in one of the things that occurred this past week, which was the march um, to actually from the MLK Plaza. It was the From Pensacola rally again, the march from MLK uh, Plaza to Pensacola News Journal. It was more so in reaction to the PNJ and the editorial board releasing an editorial that basically said, um, second, I'm sorry here. All right. I think Trina, you may want to turn your phone down a little bit more there again. We're live, guys, so we might have little technical glitches here and back and forth, but I can hear my echo. Okay, that's better. So, it was in reaction to that P&J editorial, and I tell you, it was a powerful thing because first of all, that was my first time actually being part of a march. Um, Haley, if you could talk about a little bit the motive behind uh, the reaction that you guys gave and talk about why you decided to go ahead and march today and not versus a few weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago.
um, I actually be the wrong person to talk about it because when I got there was when
Oh yeah, already.
we
Okay,
made that decision.
that's no problem.
Trina would probably be the best.
Trina, go
I
ahead
can
and talk
I
about
can
that.
answer that. Um, well, as you know, Jabra, I mean, you were there on the on December 11th when we were at the commissioners meeting about the flag. And we were there all night, and we wanted the flag to come down. We wanted every form of it to come down. And so the decision was made that they wouldn't fly any other flag but the American flag. And so on Sunday, when we got there, the plan was to protest as usual, like on the 7th. But once we read that, the editorial where it said that they were actually upset with the commissioners making that decision. And they specifically said that the commissioners made a ham-fisted decision by going ahead and taking down the flag. And once that was said, we automatically knew that there was time for a different reaction, and we had to make a statement, and not just a statement, but let them know that this is not just wrong on just the commissioner's level, but it's wrong on P&J level where they're supposed to just be reporting the news. You're not supposed to be putting your biased opinion in there. And by doing that, they allowed us to know that they don't care about Black lives. And so we made the decision to march down and boycott the Pensacola News Journal.
Right. Okay. Um, you know, it was one of the things that came out of that.
And
Go ahead.
okay. A lot of people were confused because it was in the opinion section, and they were saying, "Oh, y'all took an opinion of someone with it," but it was actually an opinion of the editorial staff from Pensacola News Journal. So
Exactly.
I want that to be very clear to everyone. They were in representation of Pensacola News Journal when they wrote that. So it
Right.
wasn't just an opinion of somebody else that could have been up there, you know,
And you know, and I've written.
opposing to us, editorial staff that wrote.
Well, I've written an opinion piece before that was featured in the news journal, and so and that was my first reaction at first, as well as when you guys were out there actually reading the that particular opinion piece. Um, you know, I really thought at first was, well, that's somebody's opinion, just like who was that? Mr. Robertson, Commissioner Robertson actually released a piece as well, right? And so the fact of the matter was that I assumed as well as though as you know somebody just submitted their opinion, but to see now, and that was clarified to me during the march, was the fact that hey, the actual editorial board, the editorial staff released this. Was a representative of an opinion of the Pensacola News Journal as an entity. Is that and that's correct, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. That's why we felt the way we felt. It's one thing you can. Everyone has their own opinion. You know, we have our opinion. But it's another thing when a news source comes out when they're supposed to be objective and they blatantly state how they feel about a subject that they should not have been even addressing. You know, it's one thing to go in your house and say how you feel, but a news source is supposed to be objective and just state the news. And so that you know, we're giving our money to a paper that apparently does not care about black or brown lives. I mean, to just come out and say that, especially a flag that, you know, represents so much hate and the racial divide that's already here in Escambia County. And so again, Pensacola News Journal, it was really baffling to me. Instead of just stating the news, you just put exactly how you feel in there. And I think Pensacola News Journal actually put their foot in their mouth.
Right. How do you guys really, you know, and each one of you guys can give me your reaction to, yeah, and I've heard a lot of it at the commissioner meeting, but how do you personally feel about all of the French and the Spanish flag and the British flag being right along with the Confederate flag being up there? So if you were to take out the fact that, or if you were put that argument of the Confederate flag away, how do you guys feel about the British and French and Spanish flag as well being up there with the American flag?
I'm just as fine with those coming down too, because they got their own brutal history to be honest.
Right. And you know, one of the things that I one of the county commissioners reached out to me, and I guess during the county commissioner meeting, I wasn't there to the end. One of the Lumen made the point that hey, we shouldn't even be concentrating on the rest of these flags at all. We should really be concentrating on the American flag as American citizens. And you know that really made I guess that in this particular commissioner it swayed his opinion to go ahead and take down all of the flags. And so I kind of understand where he's coming from. Is it possible for you guys to really look at things like that as well, or is it more so just the fact that the fact of the matter is that hey, we've been through all of these issues, slavery and so forth, oppression under this flag, and so we're going to concentrate on just the Confederate flag in general. I mean, Chris, you want to answer that?
Yeah, so let me unmute here real fast.
You're
Can you hear
already,
me?
yeah, you're already.
Okay, great. So when I went into the meeting, I was more so I had issue with the battle flag in particular. At the time, I didn't know Haley or Katrina. It was more or less like I was going down there on my own, basically saying like, look, I got the problem with the battle flag. You know, I understand what the city of Pensacola did, and I heard a podcast where Grover Robinson actually was kind of speaking to the issue, which is kind of where he was bringing it up to begin with, going to the first national. And I would have been within and of myself, I would have been almost fine with that. With letting it be like that, match the city, good to go. Just get that battle flag down, because that's where the majority of the atrocities that we're familiar with in our generation and the generation before us felt that pain from those people who flew that flag. So I would have been comfortable myself with that, with just going to that flag. The other flags, they all got their own brutal histories, as well as, you know, plenty of flags. Even the American flag has its own, but that's the flag, you know, as Doug Underwood stated, that we actually, you know, we fought and served under based on what's happening right now and where we're going in the future. So I was a vet. I fought for that flag. I fought for our current freedoms, for my kids' current freedoms, and where they're going in the future. Now, one of the things that kind of just recently disturbed me is all the information that I was seeing online. I kind of just backed away from the whole piece of it, because there was just so much, I want to say, just trolling of extreme positions. So today for the call, I actually started looking into why did the actual southern states succeed in the first place? Because that's a lot of what I hear from a lot of apologists from the South, is they're talking about why the states actually succeeded, and states' rights. And for the states' rights concept and point, I'm good with that. I understand freedom. I understand states' rights. Have no problems with that. So then I got to looking into the actual document that South Carolina actually put out, because they were the main state that kind of was starting the process, and all the other states just kind of fell in line with that. And from that, I found that the main reason that they have declared in the document, which is called the Declaration of the Immediate Causes which induce and justify the secession from the Union. And this was put out by South Carolina at a national convention where the 9 southern states actually attended and participated in that event. They all signed this document, and then they all came out with their own letters of succession. And so the main argument that they actually were succeeding was because the North was not returning fugitive slaves and upholding the fugitive slave law, right? So it wasn't about even anything else. It was about the fact that northern states were not returning to southern slave owners their property of slaves. And so because of that, they decided to break away from the Union and be their own independent state, because the northern states and the federal government was not enforcing that rule of returning fugitive slaves. So I lost all respect for anybody who flew any of that, the battle flag or the Confederate flag, the original first national flag. I just lost respect when I started reading this actual article, because the whole purpose for the secession wasn't so much economy and other components of why the law went in, of the South succeeding. It was about slaves not being returned, and it's called the Fugitive Slave Act. And they were mad because the other states in the North that they named out specifically in this document were not upholding the fugitive slave laws and returning fugitive slaves. So when I read that, I just became totally distraught, and like, you know, I lost all manner of respect for anybody who is crouching for states' rights and the concept behind that, because that was the only purpose that the South succeeded.
Right. You know, you make a good point there, and Michael, we're glad to have you on the show here as well. Here, as we see you join. How you doing?
Hey, what's up?
All right. You know, and you definitely make a good point, Chris, there, you know, for the fact that you really dived into the history. You know, the point, the fact of the matter is, with history, depending on who perceives it, they can spin it whatever way they want to. And there's guys on the on the opposite side of you. They're spinning it. They're spinning those wheels in a way that makes history looks good to them. So, and what can we do as a group? What can we do as a force to actually convince these county commissioners not to go back on their original vote? You know, what can we do to do that? Do you want to address that, Michael?
Well, I think the first thing we could do is, accountability. Um, I think the best thing is there were five of us that showed up the first one. Um, and the best thing for us is to everybody to show up again. And just, do we need more of a history lesson or um, hmm, maybe a PowerPoint presentation,
Right.
and maybe a video cam of just showing them what they said. You can't effectively run a city this way. Say one thing one week and then, I can't even imagine what happened. You read the paper the next day and decide to change your vote or to vote on it at the very next session, I think is ridiculous. And the government probably shouldn't run like that. Especially what's Doug Underhill. That if this is the guy that um, is deciding to go back, I think that says something to his true character.
Right. I think, from what I understand, Grover, though Grover voted at the beginning, and like I said, I wasn't there to the end. So apparently, Commissioner May made a very uh, convincing argument about the fact of just falling in under the American flag and disregarding the rest of the flags anyway.
And I think that was a great move. You know, I think one thing that we have to do is move past the history with the old flags. It's not about the City of Five Flags. What about the Pensacola of the future? And you look at the America of the future, and you see Black Americans, you see White Americans. You don't need. I don't think you need all these different flags. We definitely don't acknowledge our French ancestry, or our Spanish ancestry, or our Southern ancestry. I prefer to be an American. Hey, that was the county commissioners. We had nothing really to do with that. It's about one thing and one thing only, and the Confederate flag and the history that represents.
Right, 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 right. And you know what? You made a good point. One of the things after talking to one of the county commissioners, and he explained Lumen's argument, Commissioner May's argument. There's a group called Escambia Citizens Watch, and so this is a group that's on Facebook that has been around for the last few years. I never knew anything about it until one of the former nominees or runner-ups for the county commissioner actually reposted the video, one of the videos that I produced in that group, and then it showed up, and I said, hey, okay, let me join and let's check it out here. Well, I tried that argument in the group, and I called those guys out that fought against the fought for the Confederate flag. I called those guys out as unpatriotic because they're elevating another flag to the same elevation or to the same importance, or a series of flags to the same importance of the American flag. None of those guys said anything back to me. They didn't argue with me about it.
I bet they didn't.
How can you argue against that? And so that was the point that was made to me, and it made sense to a big extent, you know. But when you had someone else was in the group there, and in that particular group, and I guess when the race argument was introduced back into it, or the slavery argument was introduced back into it, that's who the group members beat up on, And so it was really interesting there, So you make a valid point there, Michael. I don't know. I hate not to take the race card out of things sometimes, but if we can push a unifying effort, is that possible? I guess that's the thing, though.
Right. You would think it is, because those who accuse other people of playing the race card are often the ones who, are, are the guilty ones. I've never heard a person who disliked the Confederate flag play the race card.
Right. Exactly. I think we lost Trina here, so hopefully she can come back in. If not, then definitely we'll have her in on the next go around on the next show. There was what I guess the last one of the last things here before we really wrap up is that how do you guys feel if they do go back and say, hey, we're going to put up the national Confederate flag and not the battle flag and kind of fall in alliance with the city? Then I mean, what is everybody's real reaction to that? Or how are you going to really feel about that? Is that a fight that we want to continue on? If they put that back up, if they leave it down, is there something where you want to go to the city next and see about getting the city's Confederate flag down also? How do you feel about that?
Definitely. Get them all down. But I think the important thing to remember is we're still boycotting the PNJ. The Pensacola News Journal is still on boycott. They should apologize for that incendiary article that they endorsed. When you write inflammatory stuff, that's what happens. So I think you got to continue the boycott and take them down from the city. Shouldn't have them up anywhere. It's a disgraceful legacy to celebrate.
Right. And it's one of the things that I've thought about is just for the fact that one of the things that everybody kept saying was, hey, even the U.S. flag, the American flag, needs to be elevated higher than the rest of those flags. And if you look at one of the displays there, before you get on the 3 Mile Bridge, they look all the equal height to me. And it's looking at some of these old videos from the 50s and all, and these displays have been around for a long time. And you can imagine the thought process that went on then to create these displays, and they're still there with us today, affecting what's going on 50 years later, 60 years later. And the fact of the matter is it's time for a change. It's time for the thought process to change with that.
Yeah. What was interesting, too, about that meeting is I don't remember which commissioner, but one of the commissioners mentioned that the city doesn't even actually market itself as the City of Five Flags anymore.
They
it's
don't.
The upswing of Florida, I think, is what they're the upside of Florida.
Right.
So the Confederate flag, in all of its glory, whichever version, they all have a place, and it's a place in history, and it's a place in museums. No one's asking anyone. A lot of what I see on that Escambia Watch Citizens Forum is they say, oh, they're trying to rewrite history. The extremists, the liberals, the Democrats are all trying to rewrite history. I'm like, number one, I'm not liberal. Number two, I'm not a Democrat. Number one, I'm not liberal anything. And number two, continuing forward, no one wants to rewrite history. In fact, we want to preserve history because I need to teach my kids what that flag meant. I need to teach my kids that flag meant that people hated you because of the color of your skin, about no other reason. And now I know even better that the people who fought for what I was originally thinking was states' rights, who was fighting oppression, was turning around and oppressing you. No, they weren't even fighting for anything other than to continue oppressing you. So if they put the flag back up, it would be a sad moment. I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep over it because I have a family and I have 4 children that I'm going to raise. I would like to actually see my county commissioners focus on things like the education system here, working and partnering with the school board here to fix some of these broken schools. I've got a lot of ideas myself about that, but I would like to see us do some sort of national study using our universities, UWF, FSU, and the University of Florida, and actually have them do surveys of the top school districts in the state of Florida and in some of the other states, and actually figure out what are they doing right and what are we not doing right, and what can we adopt from those school systems and make some radical changes to improve. I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep over it because I have a family and I have 4 children that I'm going to raise.
We're live and there's technical difficulties. I think somebody's watching the YouTube video at the same time, so you're going to have to close the YouTube video.
But I mean, I would like to see the commissioners focus on making progress and moving forward with a lot of things in this county that have been broken for a long time. So, am I going to, like, me myself, am I going to fall out backwards and have a hissy fit if they actually do put the 5 flags back up? No. I think a good argument that Michael brought up was, why are these other flags even elevated to the same height as the American flag? I think that's a very good argument that allows everybody to have a voice on it without even tying it to race, and it allows other people of other nationalities and races who fight for that American flag to have a voice and let that voice be strong, and it's not just a black opinion about the flag or other flags. I think that's a great argument. But and I know we're running out of time. I'm not going to get on my soapbox.
Now we have two other guests here that have joined, and I don't know how everybody else's time is, of course, but I do want to let Clarissa and Keontae. Keontae, looks like you're driving there. Please don't do both. We can't hear you.
Jesus, take the wheel.
Hold on, but I need to. Okay, maybe
I'm not driving.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had you turned down on my end there.
Okay. All right. I just want to pause for a second and excuse my dog in the back. First, I want to say and ask everybody for your prayers. My mother's in the hospital. But my mother taught me that you have to, be a part of the movement and stick to what you know. So the dog wanted in the back. He's okay. He's a little anxious. But I had to pull over and join this conversation and try to help people understand what this movement is truly about. And so I want to stop and do this. First, let's give a history of what From Pensacola is about. It is a group of 5 people, Clarissa, Haley, Michael, and myself, who realized that it was important for us not to just have a visual, I'm sorry, Katrina, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm a little flustered right now. I literally had to pull off the highway and get my thoughts together. But yes, sister, you down with us? There's 5 of us, the Mighty 5. That's what we've been named by Bob Hill at the local radio station. He's deemed us the Mighty 5. But what we wanted to do was make sure that Pensacola was a part of the national movement happening that I guess became fostered in the community and around this world in Ferguson, but has obviously grown much larger than that. And so we wanted to make sure Pensacola was a part of that narrative and a part of the discussion that was happening. And so we wanted to show solidarity. And so our first visual, was called From Pensacola with Love, because we wanted to show the world that we love our black people, but we also love this community, and we're about solidarity. The second one was Remembering Lost Lives. And that was because we've lost way too many people, both men and women, black and white, transgender and heterosexual and cis. And so we wanted to capitalize on that. But then we got the article on that Sunday that said the Pensacola News Journal editorial board, a function of their administration, upholds the government flying a symbol of hatred. And that we could not stand for. And so like our forefathers did back when they started the Montgomery bus boycott, we realized that if we were going to affect change in this community and get people to recognize that this was an issue, that we had to address the economics behind this. So before we start talking about disparities in the jail and incarceration, before we start talking about disparities and over-discipline and low literacy rates for African-American children or just poor children in Escambia County, we have to first address that our government is perpetuating and endorsing and subscribing to hatred and racism by flying that flag. And any entity in the city of Pensacola or the county of Escambia that supports the government in institutional discrimination and racism, we do not support. And that's what this movement right now in Escambia County is about. Like, flat out, no questions, the government should not be subscribing or endorsing institutional racism. And as the brother Chris said earlier, that's what that flag represents, hands down. We can talk about dual realities of the Old South. We can talk about them, most people or people in the South thinking that it was them being at their height. That's fine, but you got to your height of that success off the backs of black people, Native Americans, and Hispanics in this country, specifically black people at the time who were not even just confused. And that is what that flag represents. And the government in 2014, post-slavery, post the Civil Rights Act, post the Voting Rights Act, post the abolishment of slavery, should not be endorsing that flag. And any agency or business that supports it from Pensacola will not support you.
Amen to that. That's we've had to some of the things that Chris actually introduced was he went back and he researched and really presented some information on why the South succeeded. Then one of the big reason behind that, and he gave that good information. And you've come back in and backed it up the fact that hey, this is an issue that is deep rooted. That has really caused a lot of strife and hardship in the past, to especially African Americans, and this is why the government shouldn't be supporting that. Before you came in, Michael did touch on one good thing that he really brought up, and I backed it up as well, and we even spoke of in the group where I spoke of where I was just kind of using that philosophy of psychology, in the group, which was really going forward and hitting the people who are for putting that flag back up, hitting these people as unpatriotic, hitting these people as people who want to glorify I can't get my words right now, glorify not only one flag but 4 additional flags in addition to the American flag. And so it's so many different ways to tackle this. We definitely want to make sure that it's organized, and we make sure that none of those other flags go back up. And I think that's going to be part of the continuing discussion here that we're going to have. The next show, the show after that, is really trying to make sure that doesn't happen. Chris, do you want to say something?
Yeah. So one other thing I didn't mention earlier was to what Michael was mentioning about keeping the pressure and keeping a presence at the county commission. One of the things we can probably do is try and organize an event online, just being a tech geek, and actually organize a component where people actually sign up to go to the county commissioners' meetings on various days. So they have that meeting that they have once a week or every other week or so. And what we should probably do is actually go ahead and actually make a Facebook page that lists an event page for the county commission meetings for the next year, and actually have people sign up to actually attend that meeting and keep that issue raised. Even if we don't do anything but go and actually read this document, the Declaration for the Immediate Causes which Induce and Justify the Secession by South Carolina, in the point where it talks about the reason we're succeeding is because the fugitive slave laws aren't being upheld, and then basically turn around and say, if you uphold that flag, you're upholding the fact that people succeeded states' right. The only position that they took on states' rights succeeding was to keep slavery intact. That's why they succeeded, and by putting that flag back up, you're saying that you agree with that, and then walking away.
And that's one of the big issues that I do have with the P&J article. They pulled, I don't know who this guy is. He's a local historian though, and he apparently has the perceived credibility, or he's been in this community long enough, I guess, as a historian to sway people's minds into thinking, or to spin history into in a way that now all of a sudden here it's what the Confederate flag is meant for is in a whole different historical relevance. So you definitely make a good point there, Chris. You definitely do, and I think that's something that probably should be presented at the next meeting. Clarissa, you want to chime in on this? You have anything to say? Oh, and
I can't hear you, honey.
yeah, we can hear you. Oh,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. So if you're on your computer,
Oh, okay.
If you're on your computer, Clarissa, click on the little gearbox there up top, and that was the issue that Chris had, and you may have to pick your microphone there.
I just want to let
Go
anybody
ahead,
know.
Deontay.
Um, yeah, I just want to let folks know that, as we mentioned, from Pensacola is an organic movement, and we appreciate all the support that we've gotten thus far and the support that we're going to continue to get. And we like the idea that you have. But one of the things that we have to be very careful about is this message. And I think we should, you should join our conference and we have really great ideas. But for what we know right now, what we need people to do to answer that question of how we move forward is to participate in the
Deontay, I don't want to.
is the
I hate
fight.
to, Deontay, I hate to interrupt you, but your signal. I don't know if you moved or not, but it's your voice is going in and out there. So maybe you could try it again and see if you can get a better position on your signal.
Okay, we're gonna try that.
And I heard that.
Is that better?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I think what we have to be careful to do and be cognizant, to do, is to participate in the initiatives that we have going on right now. And so from Pensacola, the initiatives that we are asking people to participate in the boycott. And so if you have a subscription to the Pensacola News Journal, folks need to cancel it. Don't buy the newspaper. Now, if you want to submit an editorial to combat what's already been published, please do so, because that doesn't profit the company in any way. And you can look at your editions if they decide to publish them online, if they do that. But at this point, as a part of this national movement and most people know of it through the hashtag Hands Up Don't Spend, this is a part of that. And so what people need to realize in Escambia County, if you want to support this initiative in the immediate future, encourage your friends and family, coworkers, etc., to participate in the boycott. Absent that, we will be tracking the county commission meetings, and we will now be approaching the city, because we know that the flags that are flying at the city hall are representation of the City of Five Flags. That is our history. That is not our future. In fact, our mayor has already decided that our city is now the upside of Florida. More importantly, there is a Confederate flag. Although the first national Confederate flag, it is in fact the Confederate flag flying at City Hall. And that flag, along with the others, need to come down. And so people should pay attention to our page that we have up right now for actions as it relates to the county commission and the city council, and also encourage people to disengage with the P&J economically, financially. That should not, though, however, keep people from submitting editorials, because we need to keep this message out there.
And that's exactly what I was asking Michael earlier, which was the fact that, hey, we need to. What's the plan if these commissioners decide to go ahead and keep all of the other flags down besides the American flag? What is the objective with the city? And that display has been up there for years and decades. So it's time for things to change in regards to the city as well, and that's what you've actually said as well. It's that it's time for that change to happen also within the city, because it isn't the city of Five Flags anymore. It is the upside of Florida.
Right. So definitely, if they decide to either put the flag back up or whatever it is they decide to do, yeah, I think the next step would be the city, while continuing the boycott. Hello?
Yeah, we're there. I think Clarissa, it sounds like your mic might be working now. But I'm gonna let Michael finish his statement first. Go ahead.
Oh no, just it would be to continue the boycott, and the next step would be the city. I think another direction that we could possibly go is a harder look at some of the police weapons and some of the police equipment, and maybe getting some of that surplus equipment sold or auctioned off, and take a harder look at what they've got going on.
Great. Clear. Is the mic working now? No, it's not. We're gonna get these technical difficulties on your end hashed out.
Wait, does Haley's mic is off too?
No, Haley is there. I think Haley is just absorbing stuff.
Okay.
Haley, do you want to say anything? You want to chime in on this before we? I guess we do wrap everything up.
Okay.
Haley, you there?
I'm right here.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to chime in with anything to before we wrap things up here as far as the objective? Oh, one thing before you do answer that, Chris, you did say about a specific page. There are two pages out there right now. One is the first page that is directly involved with this movement with the the Magnificent Five and the whole From Pensacola. It is hashtag From
Wait a
Pensacola.
minute. The Mighty Five.
What? So, but the
You gonna
Magnificent
say it
Five,
right,
the Fabulous Five, what was it?
It's the
Fantastic.
Mighty Five.
The Mighty Five. Okay.
Don't
It
be
is.
trying to name shade us.
It's hashtag From Pensacola. So that is that page there, and then you of course you have to occupy Pensacola 2.0 page as well that has been before the hashtag From Pensacola page was launched. You know, they were there pushing a lot of the events and a lot of the messages that some of the early group was pushing. So, you know, that page there also, and there's some guys that, from what I understand, that are associated with that page that they do a lot of in-depth, I guess, investigative journalism in the county and city, and they're the ones that are grabbing the video and so forth. And I was going to go get the video from the county, and by the time I forgot and logged on to Facebook that night, they had already gotten the video, and it was already up there for everybody to view. So, you know, those guys are pretty good in getting that information as well. So, county meetings and all of that, hopefully, you know, between those two pages there, we can list those meetings so that it is a bigger coordinated effort, so many people can go. It is a big event where multiple people can be invited and participate as well, or at least if they don't participate, they're kept abreast on that event, you know, even if they've joined and they didn't go. So, Haley, anything you want to say?
Thank you. Shout out to Mighty Five. You know, all of us wasn't able to be on right at the moment because of the feed. But I do just want to make it clear, this is a strictly From Pensacola community movement. We might be the people that's organizing, but it's straight up Pensacola that's supporting it. We're not going to back down on, I'm sorry, I'm Mama Africa. We're not going to back down on our reasoning for why we want the flag down or any form of the Confederate flag down.
Right.
We're going to stick by boycotting the P&J until they change their stance. And anybody else that feels like they want to support that or any form of the Confederate flag being up, then they can be boycotted too. And that's From Pensacola.
With love.
Not with love, just from us.
Always has to be love, Haley.
But I'm a very loving person, but it don't have to always be with love.
Well, good deal, everybody. You know, this is the Pensacola perspective, and this the whole point of this show here is to I don't know who's doing this around the country or doing these type of shows and so forth, but I think these type of shows and using Google Hangouts and this Google technology to kind of collaborate and allow an audience to see it. Hopefully other movements or other groups are using the same technology to do the same thing, but that's what we want to apply to here in Pensacola, is to give some type of media coverage or exposure to the initiatives that are going on here in Pensacola. So New Year's Eve, 7 o'clock, same time. Oh, yeah, y'all are messaging each other. Okay, New Year's Eve, 7 o'clock, same time next week, and then the Wednesday after that and the Wednesday after that. I hope to have all you guys back and we can kind of continue the discussion. And I am signing off.
Hey, Jabril, can I just jump in
Go
there
ahead.
for a second?
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to encourage people, because I'm trying to be fair to everybody, and anywhere that the From Pensacola organizer have been invited, we try to go and participate. And so on this Sunday at 7 p.m., the Macintosh principal will also be talking about this issue. And folks can call in, but also watch live at themacintoshprincipal.com. And the call-in information to join that conversation will be available on their homepage. But I just want to make sure that we give everybody locally the same love that they and loyalty that they give us from Pensacola. And so if you want to pick up a copy of the various Pensacola Pensacola Voice, that's been broadcasting and telling the truth about this movement, definitely pop into a black-owned business or church or Tom Thumb. Buy one if you can. If not, many black-owned businesses have them for free. But also this Sunday at 7 p.m. Central Time, the Macintosh Principal, with our voices, will be just having the discussion.
All right, and that's themacintoshprincipal.com, and it's Sunday at 7 o'clock, right?
Yes.
Right, and that's Sunday at 7 o'clock. And do you have I guess the phone number, the call-in phone number, do you have that now? If you want to give everybody that, or will that'll be on the website?
I don't have it, but if folks go to the MacintoshPrincipal.com webpage, the telephone number to call in to join the conversation is on that homepage. And you can also video chat in if you have a web camera, and there's a link for that as well.
All righty.
Hey, you're saying Macintosh. Can you put that in the feed? Because when I look up the Macintosh Principal, all I get is Mac stuff. So it may either be further down the list.
MC instead of MA.
Say it one more time.
Put MC instead of MA.
Ah, gotcha.
Right. All right, for the live feed, everybody on the live feed that's watching, this is the Pensacola Perspective, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday with another roundtable discussion. For everybody that's on the call here, hold on, and I'll stop the broadcast.